If you ask me right now for my honest opinion as to why we have heard absolutely nothing specifically about the OnePlus Open 2, I would tell you it's because I don't think it's coming. Now, let me just say that I hope I am 100% wrong about this. And let me also say that what I have, or what I'm going to present to you, is basically a whole bunch of anecdotal evidence. Now, there is something that could be a bit more firm that we'll talk about here in just a moment, but I can't 100% verify it. So that's where we are. I hope that I'm wrong and they're just waiting to talk about the OnePlus Open 2, but I just have a bad feeling. So everybody watching this video is going to know perfectly well that the Oppo Find N5 has been more or less unveiled. We've seen teaser videos and photos and specifications on and on and on. Oppo did a really good job of marketing by releasing little tidbits of information day after day after day to get people like me talking about them day after day after day to build that hype up to a fever pitch. All along that time, the expectation has been that the Find N5 will be released in the United States and in some other regions like India as the OnePlus Open 2. However, OnePlus has remained radio silent on this, and the leaks have also remained completely silent on the OnePlus side of things. I know that this looks a little bit weird, but it's illustrating a point. All the way back on June the 20th of 2023, that was several months before the OnePlus Open would be released, we had renders of the OnePlus Open. Not renders of the Find N3, the sister device to this, but of the Open with the OnePlus emblem on the back. This time, people like OnLeaks have had absolutely nothing to say about the OnePlus Open 2. It's all been 100% about the Oppo Find N5. You have to ask yourself, with all the leaks and the absolute social media bombardment from Oppo, does it make sense for OnePlus to remain completely silent if their version of this device is coming? I would say if it's coming at the same time as the Find N5, the answer is absolutely not. They would be incredibly foolish not to get in on this, like I said, fever pitch marketing blitz that Oppo has going if their device is launching within a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month of the Find N5, but instead they've been silent. But when you factor in the complete, total lack of leaks about the OnePlus variant, makes me kind of feel like maybe this thing isn't coming a week, 2 weeks, a month later. Maybe it's not coming at all, but we do have a little bit more evidence, or anecdotal evidence, I should say, to talk about. Maybe you've noticed on social media over the last several days. I'm going to show you some screenshots here on this little write-up that I did over on ShaneCraig.tech. Several different tech content creators have been posting about how Oppo has sent them the Oppo Find N5. Now, if you go onto these websites or these YouTube channels, what you will find is that these individuals did not review the Find N3. They reviewed the OnePlus Open because that was the variant released in their region. Oppo didn't send them the Find N3 because they knew OnePlus was going to send their version. And yet here we are. They're being sent the Find N5. What would that mean? What does that imply? I think that implies, again, that the Open 2 just isn't coming. Why would Oppo, who is under the same BBK umbrella as OnePlus, send them their phone only for OnePlus to maybe weeks or short months later send them their phone when these two devices are effectively identical other than their slight differences between Color OS and Oxygen OS? These are very, very minimal. Why would they bother doing that? You're basically asking these people to review the same phone twice. It just doesn't make sense. So let me tell you what I have heard directly. Several days ago, I had somebody reach out to me and tell me that the OnePlus Open 2 just simply was not going to be coming. Now, the reasoning that they gave were tariffs. I have not kept up with this super carefully because there's nothing we can do about it. But with the threat, or perhaps the reality, who could say, of tariffs on China, the idea was that BBK or OnePlus had basically decided that it didn't really make sense to ship the device here because they try to sort of bring a certain value proposition and they would not be able to do that. They'd have to raise the price. So they just basically said, we don't think we're going to sell enough of these to make it make sense to ship here. Now, at the time, I took this with a heaping pinch of salt because I have people reach out to me all the time and tell me that they know things, and typically these people are unverified and they're probably just making things up, and their accuracy is about as good as tossing a coin random chance. So I just ignore it most of the time. We also know that the OnePlus Open was selling quite well in India. 2,000 to 2,500 units of the OnePlus Open daily were being sold in India. So why would they kill the OnePlus Open? If it's selling really well in India, doesn't make a whole lot of sense for American tariffs to make that big of an impact on a device that's going to ship elsewhere. But then I slowly started thinking about it as more and more things fell into place, right? So Oppo saying that this was going to be their first global synchronous or simultaneous release of their flagship. Does that potentially mean that rather than India getting the OnePlus Open 2, they're just going to get the Oppo Find N5? Why would they launch this device globally? Because typically, last time, they launched it where they launched it, and then they launched the Open in the other remaining regions, and that's how they kind of got their global approach. That kind of starts to fill in that gap. Now, look, we don't know for sure what's happening with India, but I will tell you that if news comes out sometime between now and then that India is getting the Oppo Find N5 and we still haven't gotten confirmation about the OnePlus Open 2, I would consider that as a pretty big nail in the coffin for the OnePlus Open 2. Unfortunately, I think it's pretty unlikely that Oppo actually ships the Find N5 in North America, in the United States. They just don't sell their phones here. So I think if that does play out, what we would be looking at is a situation where we would have to import these devices. And that absolutely, completely changes the dynamic for me and probably for a lot of you as well. When the OnePlus Open 2 is competing against the Z Fold 6 and 7 or the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, Pixel 10 Pro Fold, it's a very, very different proposition. When it is an import-only device for us, and it's running Color OS rather than Oxygen OS, which does have some quirks that American users might not enjoy, it really does change things. Because now, if you're going to import it, you're also going to be looking at other devices like the Honor Magic V3, which is right there with it in terms of many of these specs. The battery is nearly as big. It is basically the same thickness roundabout, but that camera setup is probably a more impressive camera setup. And if you're importing it, you're probably looking at within about $100, $150 of the same price. So like I said, it opens things up and it really does change the dynamic. How many of you would have bought it if you could just order it directly from OnePlus, do your trade-ins, do all that stuff, versus, you know, potentially going to a website like Average Dad Tech or something like that and buying it or importing it through somewhere like that. It changes things. And let me be clear about something. I am far from the only person speculating about this. I've had several conversations over the last couple of days with a whole bunch of other people in the tech creator community, people in that industry who would presumably know something. And unless they're just all lying to me, they're all basically saying the same thing. I don't know. I'm hearing maybe it's not coming. I'm starting to get a little bit worried. If someone knows the answer to this question, they're not telling anyone. Again, though, I want to make this very, very clear. I am not telling you that 100% it's not coming. I am simply expressing to you my concern and my reasons for concern. Do with that what you will. If you were banking on this thing happening 100%, I don't think you should be quite that confident. And it seems like that level of confidence is going down rapidly in the tech community as more and more of these strange things I've outlined begin to pile up. What I want to hear from you guys is this. If it turns out that it's not coming, how many of you are going to import this thing? How many of you would even be interested in importing this thing? Because that is really important to me. I typically don't import devices to cover on this channel because they just don't tend to do as well for me. I can't really sell anything and earn commission that way. And people tend to be less interested in that content. So my views go down. So I'm kind of at a weird impasse right now where I don't know which way to go. I had sort of planned on buying the Open 2, but now I don't know exactly which path to take. So give me some feedback on that down below. What do you guys actually want to see? Let me know if you think I'm crazy. Do you think I'm reading these tea leaves incorrectly? Do you have some sort of knowledge about how easy it would be for Oppo to pivot and ship that phone, the Find N5, in India? Maybe you know more about that stuff than I do. You probably do, because I don't know a whole lot about it. Maybe you know more about this tariff situation. Does that make sense? That OnePlus, a Chinese company, is going to be hit harder than Samsung or Google would be, and therefore their price would go up disproportionately, and therefore it might make sense not to ship the phone again. Maybe you know more. You probably do. Sound off in those comments down below, and let's try to gather more information down there. And if you're that guy or gal that knows what's going on, head over to ShaneCraig.tech and use that contact form, and you can send me an email, and I will be very happy to use discretion and keep you anonymous if need be. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.